Let's be honest, most period dramas feel like the same recycled formulas, but Netflix has some absolute gems buried in their catalogue that nobody's talking about. From Victorian murder mysteries to 1920s barnstormers, these hidden treasures deliver the goods. Here are 10 underrated period dramas on Netflix that are definitely worth your time. Hitchcock 2012. This one's about Alfred Hitchcock during the making of Psycho, and it's way more interesting than you'd think. Anthony Hopkins plays Hitch, and he completely disappears into the role. The prosthetics are subtle enough that you stop noticing them after a while. What makes it work is how it shows the master of suspense dealing with his own fears and obsessions. His relationship with his wife Alma, played by Helen Mirren, is the real heart of the story. She's not just standing in his shadow, she's fighting to get the credit she deserves while keeping their marriage together. The film doesn't shy away from Hitchcock's darker side, his obsession with his leading ladies, his controlling nature, but it also shows his genius and the risks he took to make Psycho happen. Studios thought he was finished, but he bet everything on it. Scarlett Johansson plays Janet Leigh, and the behind-the-scenes look at filming that infamous shower scene is fascinating. The Theory of Everything, 2014. Eddie Redmayne won an Oscar for playing Stephen Hawking, and honestly, it's easy to see why. This biopic covers Hawking's life from his Cambridge days through his groundbreaking work and his complicated marriage to Jane Wilde, played by Felicity Jones. What sets this apart from typical biopics is how it handles the relationship. It's not just inspiration material. Jane sacrifices everything for Stephen, and the film shows the toll it takes. She's not a saint, he's not perfect, and their love story is messy and real. The cinematography is gorgeous, all those Cambridge shots and period details from the 1960s onward. But the real star is Redmayne's physical performance. Watching him deteriorate while his mind stays sharp is heartbreaking. The film never gets preachy about disability or genius. It just shows two people trying to navigate an impossible situation. Fair warning, bring tissues. The great Waldo Pepper, 1975. Robert Redford stars as a World War I pilot turned barnstormer in 1920s America, and this film is criminally underrated. Waldo Pepper is chasing glory he never got in the war, doing dangerous stunts for crowds who don't really care about his stories anymore. Director George Roy Hill, who did Butch Cassidy with Redford, brings that same energy here. The flying sequences are insane and they're all practical. No CGI, just real planes doing real stunts. You can feel the danger in every scene. But it's not just about the action. The film's really about obsolescence, about men who peak too early and don't know how to exist in a world that's moved on. Waldo keeps pushing harder, taking bigger risks, because flying is all he has. The ending hits differently than you'd expect. It's bittersweet and honest about the cost of chasing dreams that don't make sense anymore. 8. For Silver, 2021. This is a period horror film set in 19th century France, and it's way better than it has any right to be. A rural community gets cursed after committing a brutal massacre, and a werewolf starts hunting them down. But this isn't your typical monster movie. Boyd Holbrook plays a pathologist investigating the attacks, and the film uses the werewolf as a metaphor for colonial guilt and violence coming back to haunt you. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Everything feels muddy and rotting, like the land itself is sick. The creature design is genuinely unsettling. They went practical with the effects, and it shows. The werewolf looks wrong in the best way, not like a wolf at all, but something more disturbing. What makes it work is how seriously it takes itself. There's no winking at the camera, no undercutting the tension with jokes. It's just pure gothic horror with something real to say about the sins of the past. The Color Purple, 2023. The new musical adaptation of Alice Walker's novel. And before you roll your eyes about another remake, give this one a chance. It's directed by Blitz Bazawule, and it brings a completely different energy than the Spielberg version. Set in early 1900s Georgia, it follows Celie, a black woman surviving abuse and racism while finding her voice and her identity. Fantasia Barrino plays adult Celie, and she brings serious emotional weight. The supporting cast is stacked. Taraji P. Henson, Danielle Brooks, Coleman Domingo, all bringing their A-game. What's interesting is how the musical format actually enhances the story instead of distracting from it. The songs let characters express things they can't say out loud, especially in a time and place where speaking up could get you killed. The cinematography is vibrant and alive. contrasting with the darkness of the subject matter. It doesn't sugarcoat the violence or the pain, but it also celebrates resilience and sisterhood. WYATT EARP, 1994. Kevin Costner's 3-hour Western epic that got completely overshadowed by Tombstone. But honestly, this one's the better film. It covers WYATT EARP's entire life, from his early days as a buffalo hunter through Tombstone and beyond. What sets it apart is the scope. This isn't just about the gunfight at the OK Corral. It shows how EARP became the man who walked into that fight, all the violence and loss that shaped him. Costner plays him cold and haunted, not as a hero, but as a man carrying too much grief. Dennis Quaid is phenomenal as Doc Holliday, playing him as a dying man with nothing to lose and a dark sense of humor about it. The supporting cast includes Gene Hackman as EARP's father, and their relationship adds real depth. Director Lawrence Kasdan takes his time, letting scenes breathe. Yes, it's long, but it earns the runtime. Amadeus, everything feels earned. The film is gorgeous, shot in Prague with period-accurate costumes and locations. It won 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, and it deserves every one. Even if you're not into classical music, the storytelling is so tight that you'll be hooked. House of Guinness, 2025. This brand new series digs into the dark history of the Guinness family, and it's way more twisted than you'd expect from a beer dynasty. Set across different time periods, it shows how wealth and power corrupted the family from the inside. The production values are insane. Every era looks authentic, from the costumes to the sets to the way characters speak. The cast is strong across the board, playing real historical figures who were involved in scandals, deaths and cover-ups that the family tried to bury. What makes it compelling is how it doesn't hold back. This isn't a puff piece celebrating a famous brand. It's a proper examination of how generational wealth destroys people. The pacing is tight, jumping between timelines in ways that reveal connections and secrets. If you're into shows like Succession but want actual history behind the family drama, House of Guinness is exactly what you need. It's dark, compelling, and surprisingly addictive. The Pale Blue Eye, 2022. Christian Bale plays a detective in 1830s West Point, investigating a series of murders, and he ends up partnering with a young cadet named Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, that Poe. Harry Melling plays him as awkward and brilliant, already showing signs of the writer he'll become. The film is a gothic murder mystery with a slow burn pace that actually works. Director Scott Cooper nails the atmosphere, all fog and candlelight and creeping dread. The mystery itself is solid, with a twist that recontextualizes everything you've watched. Bale is excellent as always, playing the detective as a man with his own secrets and his own grief. The relationship between him and Poe becomes the heart of the story. It's not action-packed. It's a mood piece that rewards patience. If you're into atmospheric period mysteries that don't spoon-feed you answers, The Pale Blue Eye delivers. Plus, the cinematography is stunning, really capturing that early American Gothic vibe. Wuthering Heights, 2011. This adaptation of Emily Bronte's classic novel is nothing like the polished period dramas you're used to. Director Andrea Arnold strips away all the romanticism and shows the Yorkshire moors as they really were, brutal, muddy, and unforgiving. The film focuses on the intense, destructive relationship between Heathcliff and Catherine, but it's not a love story, it's an obsession. James Howson and Kaya Scodelario play the leads, and they bring raw, almost feral energy to the roles. What sets this version apart is the handheld cinematography and natural lighting. Everything feels immediate and visceral, like you're right there in the dirt with them. There's minimal dialogue, which forces you to read everything in the actors' faces and body language. It's uncomfortable to watch at times, which is exactly the point. This isn't Bronte for people who want pretty costumes and sweeping romance. It's Bronte for people who want to feel the violence and passion that's always been lurking under the surface.